Just want to tell you that this microphone is giving me a hard time. Can you hear me? Okay. All right. Sounds good. So I just want to introduce Amie as someone that has become a dear friend, a role model. And Amie is someone that just really speaks from her heart. She shoots from the hip in a really good way. She has a great message of strength. She sponsors a lot of women. She's in action. You don't have to listen to her. You can just watch her feet when she walks on stage, and you'll see what she does. And it's just inspiring to hear where she came from, where she went, and where she is now, and where she's heading. So it's an amazing, amazing life that she's living in Alcoholics Anonymous through God and AA, through a little good, orderly direction, through that daily gift of desperation, and from a group of drunks like us that she's been so inspired. So without further ado, please give a hand to Amie Alvin.
What's up, sisters in sobriety? Did you like my song? I was supposed to be over a loudspeaker to really get it going, but we improvised. You know what I mean? That's what we do here. We learn to make it work. You know what I mean? We get in where we fit in. Amen. So I have a little bit of a voice issue. Can everyone hear me? Am I getting on everyone's nerves yet? No? All right, good. Good. Wow, this is amazing. Like, I'm blown away. I'm probably going to cry. For sure I'm going to cry. But I will make you laugh. It'll be like an emotional roller coaster, which is sobriety. So welcome. I am like, so who knew throwing a conference was such a big deal? You know, who knew it was so much work? Not me. I was like, you know, I have children. I work full time. I'm a manager at my job too. It's not just like I'm very busy. I go to school part time. I run a recovery program, and I have a lot of sponsees. And I'm like, let's have a conference. You know what I mean? Let's do it. How hard could that be? You know? And Isabel's talking about my first and last name like you all know me from Facebook. There is no. You've seen my name tagged in a few things, right? Just a few. A lot of inboxes, a lot of challenges, and mainly a lot of challenges for me to use my recovery while I've done this, you know, and a lot of things, and there have been some people that weren't so happy, and, you know, really challenged me to show my unconditional kindness that sobriety has taught me, and unconditional love. Yes. And I'm really grateful for that because, you know, God wants me to love everybody, not just when they please me. So it was really good to be put in this situation. I'm okay with challenges today. I actually welcome challenges because I know they help me grow. And my life is so good. I don't have a whole lot of them, to be honest with you, because I ask God for everything. God gives me direction on everything, so I don't find myself having a lot of challenges. So this was a good challenge to have, and I was blessed to be a part of it, and I'm so grateful for all your support, and we're so happy to have you here. Just amazing when I look around this room what an idea can turn into. And I never thought my whole life that I was capable of anything, you know, and I never thought I was really worth anything. I didn't know who I was. I didn't learn that until I got into Alcoholics Anonymous. I had no idea. I made myself and I built myself based on the opinions of others and what I thought they wanted me to be. I never had an actual strong moral code, you know. I did whatever, I blended in wherever, and whatever made me cool, I was willing to do. And, you know, unfortunately, I do have this inner guide that I didn't know how to connect to. And anytime that I I participated in behavior that was less than what I deserved. I could feel it deep down inside, and I lost a little bit of self-worth every time with every bad decision. And I'm really grateful for what Alcoholics Anonymous has taught me, and the fact that when I got in here, I actually took a look at what kind of woman do I want to be? What does that even look like? I don't know. You know, I would bend and shrink, and I didn't really stand for anything. And that was one of the most important things that I learned when I got in here. What kind of woman do I want to be? And how do I make one good decision at a time to reach that and to honor that, you know? And the positive self-talk and being kind to myself, that's how I can be kind to others. And the more kind I am to you and the less I judge you, the less I judge me. And the more kind I am to me, I have to forgive myself and I have to love myself regardless. I'm not perfect, and either are you, and that has to be okay, you know, and that has to be okay. And I have to love me exactly where I'm at and you exactly where I'm at. And I'm truly grateful for that gift because it has opened up for me a whole new world of sisterhood and a whole new world, just a whole new life that I actually get to live and enjoy because I have a level of unbotheredness that is truly amazing. I don't expect anybody to be anything. I don't need you to meet any standard. I just am happy that you're here and I'm happy that you're you. And even if you're not in a good mood, I can love you anyway. You don't have to meet any particular standard for me to be kind. And that's a really good place to be. It's a really good place to, and it has elevated me to a level I didn't realize that most of my life, I was trying to hold people down because I'm a great measurer, and I measure myself up against everybody. Do I measure up, or do they meet my standard? You know, it's always like a measuring game. And in here, I learned that there is no, we're all different. We're all different in our own way, and it's a beautiful thing. And it truly has given me the freedom that I seek because I'm not constantly trying to be something that I'm not. I'm just me, and that's so good enough, and it's amazing. I shouldn't even be alive. You know, I didn't come into sobriety like, hey, I want to get sober. How do I do it? I came in on a failed suicide attempt. In December 2009, I tried to take my life because alcohol had beaten me down so bad that I couldn't bear to take another breath. It was so exhausting. I was so empty inside, and I was in so much pain. And I didn't see, I was 32 at the time, and I didn't see exactly how life could get better at that point. I just didn't see a way, you know. It seemed so hopeless. And I had 2 children that were in with DHS at the time. I had an older son that I had sent to live with his dad that I had as a teenager. And I just hated myself. I hated myself so bad. And I tried to blame, you know, everyone I could, DHS, you know. I didn't realize this, but DHS doesn't come in your house to take your kids when you're doing well. I just want you to know. I didn't know that because I really thought, you know, why me? But that's not something they do. It's not what they're about. So my kids are with DHS. I hate myself. I sent my older son to live with his dad, and I didn't have anything left in my tank. Like, I was just completely done. And I tried to take my life, but God had plans for me. And my dad actually knew what was going on that day and sent rescue workers to my house. And they, when you don't answer the door and they think you're committing suicide, break in through your window. I didn't know that either. So I ended up in the hospital, in the psych ward. You know, it was a one-way ticket to the psych ward, strapped to a bed. And it was around the holidays. It was around the holidays in 2009. And when I woke up, I was so ungrateful. I was so ungrateful because I had already made a decision and I was done and I didn't want to fight anymore. And when I woke up, I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I don't know if I have the courage to try and take my life again. It took a lot to get there, you know? And now I'm alive, and what do I do? And luckily, I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have a say-so. I was strapped to a bed. So, yeah, I ended up in the psych ward until Christmas Eve that year, and then they shipped me off to treatment. And I had never really given anything a chance. You know, I felt hopeless, and I tried a lot of maintenance programs to get better. And it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. And I ended up in treatment that year, not knowing what I was going to do. And I ended up following a girl into a recovery house in Frankfurt. My dad came up. My dad had been nursing my addiction for a long time because he didn't want me to die. Not his fault. But he came up and he said, "You can't come home with me." And I was like, "What do you mean?" I didn't have any plans. I don't have anywhere to go. I never heard of recovery houses. And he didn't know where I was going to go, but he was brave enough to finally do something, like make the best decision for me. So I followed a girl to a recovery house in Frankfurt, and immediately I got a boyfriend, because that's what I do. That's what I do. I also had 2 boyfriends in rehab. So, and I was married. So, I am true alcoholic. If that's not the qualifier and the DHS, I don't know what is. My first boyfriend in treatment had already been there 2 weeks, so he got discharged, and I was like, "So, this is over, right?" Because I'm going to need somebody to fill the void after you leave. I was so empty, and my first drug was attention. I needed so much attention. It started from such an early age, and my parents were both blind. I grew up with 2 blind parents, and I don't know if anybody knows what it's like to grow up with handicapped parents, but it's different. You're different. Everyone else knows you're different, and I grew up really poor in a neighborhood in Kensington. Kenzo. I grew up in a really poor neighborhood in Kensington. My parents were blind, and I knew I was different. I knew I was different, when I was young, and I always knew it. And I felt right away that was my problem. I already started to blame my parents for everything, and I was a big attention seeker. I needed someone to make me feel like I was important, and that I was worthy, because I never felt that way just on my own, and I never knew how to. So I would seek attention by getting good grades, and then once I got a butt, boyfriends were it. So that's what I did, and that's what made me feel good, and no surprise, I ended up pregnant at 15. And, when I was pregnant with my son, I never once thought when I was about to give birth to a human being what that entailed. I never once realized what the responsibility was of having a child, and what I would give to him. That was never a thought in my mind. It was like, it'll be cute. You know what I mean? He'll be cute. I got attention when I was pregnant. That was cute. I liked that. So I was all in, and then this whole person came into my life at 15 that I had to care for. And he wanted me to feed him and change his diaper at 3 a.m. And that was not what I had wanted, or what I thought I was signing up for. And I would make these huge life decisions with such little thought, and I would alter my whole life and then completely hate what I had gotten myself into. And I would spiral into this self-loathing. I hate my life, and I'm a victim. And I found out in sobriety that I was never a victim. I was a magnet. Everything I put out is what I attracted back. And I blamed everybody for everything. And it was me the whole time, and I didn't know until my 5th step. My sponsor were going through. And then after I got through 2 of them on my 5th step, I was like, oh my God, I don't even want to tell her the next one. This one's really bad. I could even see what I did wrong already. And it's once you know, you can't unknow, you can't unknow, and thank God for that. But I had a baby at 15 that I had no business giving birth to, selfishly. Selfish and self-centeredness is the root of my disease. I suffer from a constant thought of me. It's all I think about. How's it going to affect me? What's going to happen to me? What will this person say about me? Me. And on constant thought of me, I would make selfish and self-seeking decisions that would just continue to spiral me down to the bottom, lower and lower and lower. And every time I'd wake up without something in me, I hated myself more. And I had to put something in me to get rid of the pain, because now I can't even stand to look at myself. I have this baby I can't take care of. I don't know where I'm going in my life. I hate myself. dudes are the only thing that make me feel a little bit good about myself. And then I get a dude who makes me feel good about myself, and I'm like, oh God, you gotta go. You know, like 3 months in, I'm like, do you really like me? What's wrong with you? You gotta go. I gotta find a new challenge. I'm sorry, it was too easy. And it was just like a constant, and it just continued to hate myself more, and I'm getting older, and I don't know where I'm going. And then I'm like, maybe I need to like find somebody to take care of me, And I had this guy in the neighborhood that was like super obsessed with me and like at my attention seeking. That's my favorite trait in a guy. My favorite quality in a guy is someone who's completely obsessed with me, because I seek so much attention that you have to be completely psycho to make me feel okay about myself. Like, me and my sponsee, Michelle, and I told her I was going to take it and I was going to use it, and I'm giving her props for it. If I'm stealing any of your other stuff, you're probably not, because I'm not going to be able to remember. But me and Michelle were talking about it, and I said, and she mentioned like the progression. Like the more attention I got, the more I needed. It's just like with anything else, I needed more and more and more. So by the time I met him, you had to be pretty much almost in the loony bin to satisfy my need for attention. And like this dude was like chasing me down to 7-Eleven, whipping open the door, like, get in the car. And I was like, oh my God, me? Oh, my guy. I'm gonna marry you, baby. So in 3 months, we were married. And I'm like, let's throw a baby on this. Let's seal this deal. Let's have a baby. And that's what I do. I make big decisions. I get married to people. And, like attracts like. So if the dude wanted me, we knew he wasn't well, right? I mean, like I was coming home barely like dressed most nights. Like what respectable guy is going to be like, I want her right there with her vagina out. That's me. That's my girl. No well man wants that. So we get married in 3 months, and I'm like, let's have a baby, because that's what I do to fill my void. I have babies I can't take care of. I don't love me. I hate me. I'm married to this dude I barely even like, but he like super is obsessed with me. So this is the makings for a real hot mess, And but he's in Mayfair, so I think I'm doing well, because I came from Kensington. Does anybody know what that's like? So I moved from Kensington to Mayfair. I was like, I am doing well. This is good. And I'm smart, I got a job, and I did really well at my job, and I like tripled my salary in a couple months when I was there, just opportunity, and I was just in, and like I was maintaining and I was surviving, and my ex-husband is now like ODing and dying on my floor. Quite often. And I'm just maintaining, and I'm going to work, and I'm thinking that he's the problem, but I'm not doing anything about it. I just want to cry to everybody about it, not really actually do anything. I want everyone to feel sorry for me, but I don't want to have to put any effort in it, And I'm not well. I have no clarity. I have no God. I have no self-worth. So I'm stuck. And I'm like, let's have another baby. You know what I mean? So now I have a daughter and a son, and my oldest son is the son I had when I was a teenager. I move him with his dad because my ex-husband starts punching me in the face in front of my kids. He's not well enough to even be half awake most times, and when he is, he's irate and he's nasty, and I am no peach, let me tell you. Anybody felt sorry for that? Let me tell you, I tried to earn every second of it. And I went all in. And so eventually I sent my oldest son to live with his dad, and DHS eventually came in the picture. Cops come to your house enough times, that's pretty much what happens. And I'm like, oh, he's the problem. You know what I mean? Take him out. And they don't do that. They don't take grown men. So the cops do that, but I never considered that. So DHS comes, and eventually they take my children out of my house. And once this happens, they were the only thing I was really going for. Like, I didn't know how to be a mom. I didn't even know how to love myself. And I could only think of myself. Even when it came to my children, like, I wanted to be a good mom. I so did. But, like, in the core, deep down inside, wanted to be a good mom. But my selfishness superseded that every time. Every time when it counted. Every time when they needed me. I couldn't rise to the occasion. I chose me every time. And, I was taking them down the way, taking them Second and Lehigh. There's no place for kids, One time my husband OD'd in the car before we even got to Second and Lehigh. I drove him to Second and Lehigh to get what I needed first. And then I took him and kicked him out in the hospital and kept going. That's the kind of drug addict I was. That's the kind of alcoholic I was. I didn't even care. I was like, and the guy never served me again. That's pretty bad when a dealer quits on you. You know what I mean? He was like, no, crazy lady, I'm sorry. That guy was blue. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. But that's the kind of alcoholic I am. I can't put anybody first before what gets me well. I can't. I'm not capable of it. I don't have the power. I didn't know it. So when DHS came in and took my kids out of my house, that was it. That was it for me. Like, I had nothing else to fight for. They were the only reason I was even trying to get up in the morning. The only reason. And once DHS came, I had the ultimate excuse. I finally had a great excuse. I don't have my kids. They took my kids. I gave them every reason. And thank God for my kids. Thank God. Today I know, thank God, that they came in and saved my children. Because I was not capable. So they take my kids. I'm completely done. I am now I have the next 2 years are just a spiral down that went so fast that, before I could even grasp what was going on, I was done. I was going to my visits. I would keep a job every now and then. The only thing I did right was go to my visits the whole time because I wanted to see my kids, and I couldn't keep a job. They don't like when you're not out at your desk. They don't like that. Eventually, they're going to stop believing it's Benadryl. So I couldn't keep a job for more than a couple months. Eventually I was done. I was out of ideas on how to keep this show going. I just couldn't do it. So I tried to take my own life. And thank God for his intervention, and I was someone that came in this process not believing in God at all. Not my sponsor will tell you. I had no conception of God whatsoever, other than to blame him when the stuff was going wrong and I had nobody else to blame. I would blame him then, but that was the only idea that I ever had of God. And now, I have an actual connection that I feel deep within my soul, and a trust that leaves me basically fearless, and limitless in this life. And it's truly amazing. So God intervened, saved me from myself, and I ended up in treatment. And then I ended up in a recovery house in Frankfurt. I start going to my visits again with my kids, and I'm getting a little clarity. Got a couple showers. It didn't smell like stale cigarettes anymore. My butt started to come back. I lost that in sobriety. I lost that in my addiction. I lost my butt and my eyebrows in my addiction. It was terrible. But I came back and I started to get them back, and eventually I got my eyebrows tattooed. So it's all good. I started to feel a little bit better. And they make you go to AA meetings in the recovery house. I would have never done that at my dad's. So thank God for my dad that he didn't let me come home. So they would make me go to meetings, and instead of getting a sponsor, I got a boyfriend. Because that was my solution. I had no money, and he had cigarettes. So it was a great solution for me. And so I get a boyfriend, I get a little job, I start paying my own rent, and, something starts happening. I don't really know what it is. I'm not really doing any work yet. And at about 4 months sober, Things are going well. I'm starting to feel a little bit good. I'm liking the girls in the house, the vibe in the house, and I have some really strong women to look up to, some amazing women that led the way for me and showed me what a woman of honor and dignity looks like, because I don't know what that is. You know, they looked me in my eye. They showed me love, and you could tell that they love themselves, you know, and I was attracted to that. And they were honest with me about their stories, you know, and I could relate and I could feel it. You can just feel real knows real, you know, and I could feel their pain and I could feel their honesty in their story, and I was attracted to it. But there wasn't much change, there wasn't much work, and but I was feeling something. I can't explain what it was. Grace, maybe some grace is what I was feeling. At 4 months sober, I had my court date about my children, and now I'm finally sober, finally doing what they told me to do, like what I couldn't do the whole time. They were in DHS for 2 years, and I couldn't stay sober. Now I finally have, and my girl Stephanie Scully wrote me this really awesome letter for court, said I was doing well, and I'm like going to court, like, pack their shit, they're coming with me. You know what I mean? I'm doing well, doing well. You know, when I went to court, I had no idea that they were going to terminate my rights. And I sat in that courtroom for 3 hours while they told me why I didn't deserve to have my children. And you know what? They were right. They were right. You know, and at the time, I was just so broken because I had to get to a certain level of emptiness to get to the point to try and commit suicide. Now I am in sobriety. I have a little bit of clarity. I have 4 months sober. I'm getting a little bit of hope, you know? And I'm completely shattered in a million pieces at this point. When the judge said, they're not your children anymore, that was it. I left that courtroom in a million pieces. And guess what? That was the awakening I needed. And I didn't know. I didn't think that was going to be it. I had a perfect excuse. It could have been my get out of sobriety free card, you know? And I had the perfect excuse, and I had money in my pocket, and I was down 1801 Vine, and I had to take the L back to the recovery house, and I have to pass a neighborhood called Kensington in Somerset, which is a very popular neighborhood right now where big epidemic's going on, and a lot of people aren't coming back. A lot of people aren't coming back right now. And I passed that L stop, and it had to be the grace of God. It had to be. I had done no step work. I was just shattered in a million pieces, and I still passed that stop. And I still went back to the recovery house. And when I got back there, I thought, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do what they've been saying. You know, I got rid of the boyfriend immediately. I finally realized in that moment what was actually important, and I just lost it. I just lost everything that mattered. And there was some really clear perspective that came in that day. The girls that were chit-chatting about each other in the recovery house were no longer important. Whoever left the dish in the sink at the recovery house was no longer important. Like, what was actually important, I just lost. So I better do something to get my shit together before I die. And that's what I thought. And I asked a woman who used to come in the recovery house in a beat-up car and some messed-up sneakers that had some really good self-worth, who came in to talk about the big book every Thursday. And I'm like, what are they paying her? Why does she come here? You know? And all she kept saying to me is like, I can't wait until you cry. I wasn't a crier. I couldn't touch any of my emotions. I was for so long, so bottled up and so like this, just waiting for the shoe to drop, waiting to see who I had to protect myself from. And she was like, I can't wait until you cry. I was like, oh, thank you. Says that to somebody. I was like, okay. But she said a lot of curse words. And she talked about like her boobs being out and stuff. And I was like, I can relate to that. I can totally relate. So I'm like, you know, crazy enough, I'm just going to ask her to be my sponsor. And I'm actually going to like use her. So I asked her to be my sponsor, and she said yes. And it wasn't long into our step work, like maybe a month, because I had just lost my kids, that that her daughter lived in our recovery house, and I just become the manager of the recovery house, and her daughter picked up, and I had to put her out, and within a couple of days, she didn't make it back, and she was only 20 years old. We were planning her 21st birthday party, and instead we had to switch it to her funeral, just like that, and I watched my sponsor lose her daughter to this disease, and I just lost my rights to my kids, and she kept showing up. Like, she kept showing up, and if that's not the most powerful thing that recovery has taught me, is that we show up. We show up for each other. Look at this room. Look at this room. This is amazing. We show up for each other and we lift each other up. I didn't realize, like, all those years I would measure and try to hold people down so they could meet my level, because I had to keep you down here because I couldn't rise up to meet you. So I would push you down here to meet me. And the whole time I didn't realize that the only way I could get up here is if I lifted you up here. We have to lift each other up to get there. I didn't know, and I just continued to hold myself down. I continued to lower my limits, and I continued to lower my standards. And guess what? I wasn't happy. Surprise, surprise. My sponsor showed up through the death of her daughter. Every time she said she was going to, she showed up, and she helped me get with God. She took my hand, and I had no conception of God, and she put it in God's hands. And that was the most amazing thing that has ever happened in my life. It's the most amazing thing. And the relationship that has been built, because my relationship with God has continued to grow. It's not the same as it was when we first sat down and did step work. Like, my conception was small, and it was okay. Anywhere you start is good enough. That's what our literature says. And thank God for Bill and Bob. They kept it so simple for us. Like, had it been one of us nut jobs, we would have never gotten it. We would have never gotten it. Like, Bill and Bob, like, they said your own conception of God. You can't even argue with that. It's your own conception. Stop it. You know? Like, thank you, Bill and Bob, because I had no conception. I had to start from somewhere, and I had to start, like, what do I think God is? I think he's love. I think he's kindness. I think he's forgiveness. And she said, okay, well, you got to be those things if you want to connect to him. Huh. What? To everybody? Even when they're dicks? Yes. It's unconditional. I didn't know. It's unconditional sobriety. It's unconditional love. It's unconditional kindness. There can be no conditions because they won't always be met. And I cannot alter my morals and who I am based off how you behave. I can't do it. I can't do it. It's no excuse. It's no excuse. I have to behave in the way that lines me up with my center and my source at all times, regardless of how you behave. I'm never happy with myself. I never walk away from being kind to somebody and thought, I should have really let her have it. I should have never been kind to her. She didn't deserve it. I've never thought that. I'm always so happy on the other side of it that I kept my composure and that I contained myself and that I conducted myself with dignity, you know, and that's what we talk about. It's more than talk, it's action. And when the times get tough is when you really have to use it, you know, and I'm so grateful for that small conception that grew into something so great and so big. And to keep it simple, it's just love. When I keep it really, really simple, God is love. And when I feel that burning, because I'm not perfect, I'm definitely not God. I have my moments, and my blood boils, and it's mainly against my husband. So when my blood boils, I know in that instant, like it's so, because of the practice over the years and the consistency in my program, I know immediately I need to search for some love right now. Like, and shut my mouth. My sponsor told me to shut my mouth. And that was hard, and I was putting a lot. And when you're like working on a defect, that's when it's presented to you the most. Like when you're like, oh, I want to work on patience. Good luck. Get ready, because the most challenging people are about to cross your path. So be ready to be patient. practice that. Like I learned how to love the girls in the recovery house and to be kind to them and nurture them and lead by example mainly. Because like Isabel said, this isn't about what I say. This is in my feet. Watch me move. You'll see smoke behind them. You know what I mean? Because I'm so blessed to be able to I get up at 4 a.m. and go to the gym every day. 4 a.m. because it's the only time I have. So you either make a way or you make an excuse. You know what I mean? I get up and I do it because it's what I want and it's what I do. And then I get my kid, I go home, I get my day started, get my meditation going, get my breakfast going, get my kids' lunches ready, go up and get my shower, get my kids up, get them ready, go to work where I'm asked questions, busy all day, leave my job to do God knows what with sponsees, recovery houses, my kids, PTA, whatever the hell it's called. I never did it before. It's my first year. And then I lay my head down at night or I go home and do schoolwork. And I'm so grateful that I was even able to pack all that into my day. I'm never like, oh man, you shouldn't have done that schoolwork. You should have just laid on your ass. I never regret it. I just never regret giving this my all every single day. And I learned through my step work how not to be the victim, how not to focus on everyone else, because the real problem's always been and always has been me. I'm the problem, God's the solution. It's as simple as that. And the second I start trying to bring you into the equation, we got problems. I got problems. You ain't got problems. Nobody else cares. It only affects me, And so I learned through my step work and all the amazing network of women that I met, I worked on acceptance with my situation with my children. The first year was really difficult. I cried all the time. That first Christmas was awful, and I was still selfish. And I would go into the mall, and I'd see people shopping or kids going to see Santa Claus, and I'd run out crying, and I called women. I used my network. I used my program, and I worked really, really hard to not be a victim in that situation. I was not a victim. I played a huge part in that, and acceptance was my answer. I had to pay consequences for my actions, and that's all it was. It was really simple. And thank God for this process, working on my defects and getting through that and helping other women. Like, once my sponsor gave me the green light to help other women, I haven't stopped. And it's been the most amazing. I mean, they haven't gotten much attention from me in the past 2 months. I'm sorry, ladies. I know there's quite a few of them out there, and I haven't barely been able to text them back. But I'm so grateful for getting to have these women in my life because they've taught me, and every time I sit down and go through the book with them, I get a whole new lesson in me and the big book, and I'm really grateful for that, and every girl that asked me to help them. So I started helping women, started taking service commitments, started really hit the ground running with this, and I got divorced the second year of my sobriety, and then I also got married the second year of my sobriety. Still very alcoholic, and when I met my husband in the rooms, it was really important to me to have a healthy relationship. I don't know what that looks like. I still don't. But we do pretty good. And it's really important to me to still figure out who I was and honor that and not let him adjust that in any way, not let him alter my program and dictate what I was going to do for women in sobriety. And it hasn't. Like, I made a decision early on that wasn't what was going to happen, and I kept my program separate. And we have grown very healthy in this process. He's also in AA, and he works a program. And it's not always easy. Like, everyone wants to come in to sobriety and get a boyfriend and a baby. Like, I see it happen all the time, a boyfriend and a baby. And relationships are so hard. Relationships require things of alcoholics that we're not really great at, like selflessness and compassion and like giving in. Like, sometimes, like, it takes a lot of my ego has to be removed. That's not easy for me, and it takes a lot of work to not stab him sometimes, And I thank God for my sponsor, because early on in a relationship, I harassed her. So what I did is, instead of saying stuff to him, like, I wanted to be like, oh, you're never getting sex again. Like, I love to use sex as a weapon whenever I can. And like, there's plenty of things that like I would want to say to him, and I would just text her. I would text her everything I would want to say, or text my friend April. I'd text her like, oh, we're never having sex again. And she'd be like, why not? What'd I do? And it always cheered me up, you know, and it made me forget what I was doing. So I was so grateful for that. But like, I learned little things in here that helped me get through. Like, I realized I didn't have to say everything that I was thinking. I didn't know that. I thought you all really needed to hear what I had to say when I had to say it. And I didn't know about a pause button. I didn't know about letting go and let God, or taking a moment and praying. Like, I didn't know about those things. I was just right? You got to hear it. You know, like, if we're fighting, we're going to finish now. You ain't going nowhere. You know? And it's just not that way anymore. Like, I know when to back down. I know when to take a moment, and I not always right away. But I've gotten so much better at it over the years because of practice, because you have to apply it. Like, people say, how do I get rid of my defects? Well, if every time you're challenged by a defect and you give into it, you're not going to earn what you need to earn to counteract it. You know, like, you have to take a moment to say, like, I'm not going to react. That's the only way you can start, like, contradicting it. You know, and like, the best way that I can like, relate to my defects is like, okay, so I want to love, like John Legend sings about, right? It's so beautiful. He's so beautiful. He's so deep. But my behaviors are more like a song that Little Kim sings about. So that's not going to work. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I want a guy like John Legend, I got to keep my legs closed. Don't give it to him on the first night. Resist. That's the only way that you can overcome the defects. Like, you have to challenge yourself to rise to the occasion. I've had women in my face. I'm from Kensington. I don't know if you know what that means. I am from Kensington. You know, we are quick. And I've had girls in my face. Like, I had a girl spit in my face in my recovery house. And I had to see her. I had to stop in that moment. I had to stop in that moment and see her sick and have nothing but compassion for her. That is so difficult. But if I'm not willing to rise to that occasion when it's required of me, how will I earn this? How will I earn it? I have to be willing, and I have to show it when it counts. It has been practiced over time, and there's been plenty of times when I have not risen to the occasion, that I've not been happy with myself, and I have to be kind to myself in those moments too. Beating myself down is contradictory to what I want. I want to be lifted up. I want to feel good. I want to have self-worth. I can't beat myself down. I have to be okay with the fact that I'm going to make mistakes. And I'm okay with you making mistakes too. And that's the beauty part about it, because now I don't have to judge. And I know when I'm judging, it's something in me. So the second I start to judge, I'm like, you're not taking my freedom. It's not happening. No, there's something in me. I'm going to look immediately at me. And he who angers me owns me. Do I want somebody to own me anymore? I don't. I've been owned too long. I've been owned by so many things that don't even matter. By who talked about who. Who cares? Nobody's ever treated me as badly as I have. And now all of a sudden you can't talk about me? It's okay. It's okay. And I know what that is, because I was that person. I know what that is. That's people in pain. People in pain and hurt people. So somebody in pain is going to talk about me to make themselves feel better. I can handle it. I'm strong enough. I'll take it for you. It's okay. I'll still love you. I'm okay with it today, because guess what? Your opinion of me does not shape me or build me anymore. So you can talk about me. I don't have to own it. I don't have to own it anymore. And there's a beautiful freedom in this process that is just indescribably wonderful. But it takes a lot of work, and you're going to be challenged, and you're going to have to rise to the occasion. It's not going to be handed to any one of you. So through sobriety, I've gotten married. I was able to have a baby at 3.5 years sober, and he is like the sun rises and sets around this kid. I just love him, my boy. I just love him so much, and he's 6 now, and I, like, literally my toughest child, because my other kids would sleep through the night because they knew I wasn't waking up for them. They're like, she ain't waking up anyway, I'm not even going to bother Gray. But this guy, up every 2 hours, and I would just meet him with smiles and be so excited to see him and so blessed to be his mom, because it wasn't just talk anymore. Like, my gratitude wasn't talk. I really felt it deep inside, and I felt so grateful to be his mom, and I got up and I went to work every day. I didn't complain about being tired. I was just so grateful to get to be his mom, you know. And at about in 2015, my son was about 2 years old, and my oldest son had started having babies because he apparently is like his mom. Apple doesn't fall far. And he likes to make babies as his solution, too. So now he has 2. He has an older one who I've been sober for his whole life, and I get to see all the time. And he's coming over to my house next weekend, and we love him, Fatty Matt. And so he'll be over at my house next weekend. And then he had another baby with a girl who lives in Allentown, and I'm in Mayfair at the time. And, you know, they were like, we had taken him for a couple months when he was a baby and told them, get yourselves together, and, you know, we'll bring the baby back. And took care of him, then took the baby back. And then the girl started threatening me in my inbox that if I don't come get the baby, she's going to give him away or whatever. So I had to call interesting turn of events. I had to call DHS on her. So weird me. So I had to call DHS on her. They came out. They didn't see a problem, whatever. They offered her services, and they left. And about 2 months later, she left the baby home alone. The cops were called, and DHS already had my number from calling them, and they called me. And they were like, we need a place to bring your grandson. Can we bring him to you? And I said, absolutely. And they said, can we have your social security number? I said, sure. But probably once you run it, you won't bring that baby to me. You know what I mean? I'm in the system. I lost 2 kids. You know what I mean? My rights were terminated. So then, to my surprise, like an hour later, they show up at my door with the baby, and I'm like, oh my God, your system's awful. Jesus, you just give anybody a baby. My God. Did you even check my social? But they brought me the baby, and I didn't say anything to him, like, hey, I lost my rights to 2 kids. Are you sure you want to do this? I just took the baby. So it was like 1 a.m. too, all that good stuff. But then, so I didn't say anything, and I omitted the information. And then social workers started to come out to my house, and I started to feel like some of the self-worth and forgiveness that I had gotten over that 5 years was starting to, like, dwindle away a little bit. Like, it was being chipped at because I wasn't being honest and I had a secret. And I felt like telling them would be very ego deflating. Like, they're in there like, these kids can't take care of this baby, can you? And I'm like, yeah, but so what happened was, like 5 years ago, I couldn't. So I had to tell them, and they said to me, like, we're in this process because we believe people can change. We're going to run you through the foster parent process and see how you do. We'll see how you do. So they ran me through the process, and in November 2015, I became a certified foster parent. A certified foster parent from the same people who told me 5 years ago that I wasn't fit to be a mom, now just said that I can raise this baby. And I finally got my chance to really make amends to this world. I still didn't get to see my children. I sent them cards to faithfully every Christmas, every holiday, letters, money, pictures, faithfully. I never forgot. And every time it would come around the time of the date, I'd get so like worked up, like, because I don't want to forget. And I would send, with no intention, like no expectation on it. Like my sponsor told me early on, don't send it with an expectation of hearing back. Like, just don't do it. Send it because you want to send it. And I just did, faithfully. So now I have this boy in my life, and he never has to be in the system, and I get to raise them with love, and like what an amends I get to make to the universe, you know. And he calls me mom, and he was little. He's 14 months. My son was 2, so that was not easy. I gave up my heels at that point, and so I had to carry 2 babies to the car every day. And I just registered for college because I thought, like, I really want something, like, the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. I always set my limits so low. And now I know I can do anything that I set my mind to. Like, look at this. It's crazy. I always set my limits so low. So I just registered for college, and I'd put it off for so long because I'm like, fear and like making the commitment and timing and when's ever going to be the right time. And then I have a baby, and I'm just like, you know what? I got to do it. I got to do it. So I register, and then they come to my house with a second baby. So I'm like, good, I'll do this. I'll do this. Like, there's just no other option. I have to do this. And I've done it. I graduate in May. So somebody who never thought, and I don't have one bit of debt. Not one. I don't have any student debt. And just amazing what my life has become, and these little boys that have fulfilled my life and my relationship with my husband, and this network of women that have grown around me. In 2018, the parents' rights were terminated to my grandson, and in 2018 we were able to adopt him. And the weird thing was that when we got everything together, like, they thought, well, at 8 years sober, I was 8 years sober, that the judge might not allow someone who had lost rights to a kid. Like, they don't see my kind of case often. And the lawyer called me, and he said, funny thing is, I actually adopted your children out 8 years ago. So if you don't want me to work on your case, I get it. And I said, what? Not work on my case? Like, I feel like you will work for me? Are you serious? Absolutely, like, full circle. That guy stood in the courtroom for me 8 years later and wanted to help me adopt another child. And he's like, I don't see stuff like this, like, ever. And it's really so amazing how you turned your life around. And he was so happy to see it, you know, and he helped me adopt my grandson. So we adopted my grandson, and we were waiting because we were in a DHS case. And within a month, we had been saving for a house. And within a month, we were able to get a single home in Jersey for my kids. Like, it's not the stuff I have. It's just that I'm so blown away by what God can do, because I didn't try to do any of it. I wasn't trying to make any of this happen. I just continue to show up and give everything I have. And before I know it, I can give this kid's life beyond my wildest dreams. I show up for PTO events. They're both in soccer. I'm like a soccer mom. PTA. I'll get it. It's my first year. Did I mention that? They're 5 and 6. PTO is what I took today. So I get to give them a life beyond what I ever thought was possible. Like, they have this huge backyard and this huge pool and this huge trampoline, and they are just living their best lives. They are living their, and I am so grateful that I get to be the one that gives it to them. And before I met Isabel, I met all these women on a cruise to the Bahamas. I didn't know them before January 2018, and I'm so grateful that I got that experience, and I went on the cruise with my friends. And I met this whole other network of women, and right before the cruise, in 2015, I got to make amends to my ex-sister-in-law who raises my children. And she told me then that if you want to see the kids, I'll let you. But my kids didn't want to see me. And that was a whole nother acceptance and a whole other work that I had to do on that. And then in 2018, they wanted to meet me. So I got to see both of my babies' faces for the first time before the cruise in 2018. And I can't tell you, it was 8 years. 8 years I hadn't seen my children. And it hasn't been easy. Like they say, watch what you wish for, you just might get it, you know? Because everything we want comes with work. It comes with challenges. Like, it all sounds really good, but are you ready to work for it? You know, it sounds cute. Like, I was always like, yeah, let's do this. And it sounded cute, but I was never willing to work for it. And then I hated myself because I couldn't show up. You know? Now I show up. And showing up for my kids who definitely, they wanted to meet me, but they weren't big talkers, you know? So we would sit there, and it was like a little uncomfortable, you know? And now as soon as I see them, this was 2 years ago, and now when I pick them up, they're like, I want to sit in the front, I got something to tell her. You know, like they can't wait to talk to me. And they love when I show up. They actually look forward to it. I think they like me a little bit, you know? They don't like my kids. Most people don't. They love pictures on Facebook, but let me bring them. Let me bring them. My little guy was diagnosed with high-functioning autism, and the other one is purebred alcoholic. Me and my husband both in AA. He's purebred. So he is like raring to go. And they're a handful, and they're my handful, and I'm so happy to have them. So my older kids don't really like when my younger kids come around, but it is what it is. My daughter sings, and she sings so beautifully, and she's like, now, she wouldn't sing for me at first because she was so embarrassed, and now she's like, do you want me to take your phone and sing some songs for you? Like right in front of me. And it's just like, my life is so full. It is so full. And I believe 100% is because I don't live in a place of lack anymore. I'm not constantly talking about what I don't have or what I need or what's got to be done to make me happy or what conditions need to be met to meet my happiness, to make me happy. I am fulfilled from inside. And it doesn't matter what happens on the outside. It's unshakable. It's unshakable. It's mine. I own it. I work for it. It's not gifted. I work for it every single day. And it's about what I'm putting in on a daily basis that I get to keep it and maintain it. It is work, but it's been worth it every step of the way. And the blessings are beyond my wildest dreams. So now I have my children in my life. I have my little guys that I get to raise. Like the Cleavers. We're like the Cleavers. In New Jersey. Dirty Jersey. I just hightailed it out of Philly, and now I decide I'm from Jersey all the time. People ask me where I'm from, I'm like, New Jersey. New Jersey. But this is, this is a journey. This is a journey. This is not like the final destination is death. I'm not trying to get there. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to get anywhere. I honor my age and my aging. It's beautiful. I get to do it. I shouldn't even be aging. You know, I used to get mad at myself. Like, look at these wrinkles. Look at this. You're so lucky to get them. You're so blessed to get them. So now I'm just kind, and I love every single piece of me and what comes with me. And I live in abundance, and it's not about what I don't have. And I just continue to be blessed upon blessed upon blessed. And it really does. Like, this program works, but it only works if you work it. It only works if you work it. So, sponsorship is available. There are people. I didn't do this by myself. I do this with a team, and that's what we're here for. We are here to lift each other up this weekend. If you don't have a sponsor and you haven't tried the steps, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And I so suggest that there are plenty of women here that can help you. Reach out. Don't be embarrassed. Your life's at stake, and you're worth it. You're worth it. Thank you all for coming. It works if you work it, and it sucks if you don't. That's all I got.